The following is a Just Green production brought to you by the Might Be News Network.
What's up, everybody? It's the week of June 3rd, 2019. This is Might Be Sports. I am Taylor Cooper. With me, as always, Kevin Reevy. What up, Reevy?
What's going on?
What up, CJ?
How's it going?
And let's see, what do we got? Andrew is out tonight. He is currently working, which is fine. See Andrew next week. But I'm pumped up for football. And Andrew, I know, is pumped up for football, so I'm looking forward to talking more with him.
It's ironic that you said Andrew is out tonight because Andrew McCutcheon
is out for the season.
Yeah.
This isn't, I guess it's not breaking news by the time this episode comes out, but it's breaking news for us pretty much right now. It took all day to get this report about his torn ACL. A long day of speculation. I was so excited when Andrew McCutcheon landed here in Philly. I know he's not what he was a few years ago and all that stuff, but talk about a veteran presence, and he's been consistent all season from what I've seen. Great leadoff. He's been doing good with that. And it's a real shame to lose him for the season because I'm not familiar with his deal. I don't know how long he's here. I think it's a couple years though, right?
Yeah, actually, I think it's 3.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds
Could be
right.
4. I'd have to check on that, but I know. Yeah, it's a shame because he was putting together a pretty good stretch where he was getting on base a lot. He was really embracing that leadoff role.
Yeah.
Currently leading the league in walks, which might be a surprise to some, but yeah, he was just totally embracing the leadoff role. 10 home runs. In today's day and age in baseball, 256 average, you don't look at the batting average as much anymore as you used to. The 378 on base percentage, like that stings to lose that in the lineup. They just picked up Jay Bruce. Jay Bruce has 14 home runs to his 10, but man, like what a difference. Like Jay Bruce is batting like 220.
Yeah.
On base percentage, probably about, 50 points less. No comparison between those two guys. So they lost a big-time performer. And I wonder, one of the things this team needed was kind of a kick in the ass. And I'm not like a big believer in those kind of things for a baseball team. I think in football it can mean a lot because every game is the equivalent of like 10 for a baseball team. So a kick in the ass, how long can it last over the course of a 162-game season? So who knows? But to replace that, it's not going to be easy. But hopefully the guys, if you're a Philadelphia sports fan, you would hope that guys like Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, I put out there Maikel Franco. No one was talking about how poorly Maikel Franco was performing.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's kind of been getting away with murder because Bryce Harper, had some up and downs. And obviously he's, a star player, but he's a guy really needs to start playing better. And maybe this is what, kicks them in the ass and gets them to start going.
Yeah. I know we talked about it a little bit before the show that the Major League Baseball trade deadline is still, about a month away plus. But what are some of the things that the Phillies desperately need?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the two guys that are
I'm sorry, not to interrupt you. Mind you, as of right now, this recording, I don't know if do they play tonight while we're recording?
I believe so, yeah.
As of right now, they're on a 5-game losing streak.
Right.
So what do they need?
Well, right now, like what stinks is that last year, their team is so much better than it was last year, but they're kind of like even with where they were last year at this time. But last year, what they had was Aaron Nola every 5th day would lock it down.
Yep.
So like these losing streaks, they didn't exist to an extent where you'd be worried about it long term because Aaron Nola was still there every 5th day with his 2-3 whatever ERA. That's really locking it down. And they don't have that right now. Zach Eflin, their best pitchers on the DL, all their great bullpen arms, either unreliable or also on, the IL, the injured list, I guess is what it's called now. It's not looking great. Odubel Herrera's out, and you didn't worry about that so much before, but when he gets going hot, he's somebody you can rely on. He's just one more guy. That's a whole other can of worms. So he's probably not going to be back. I'm assuming he's probably going to be let go. Not much you can do there. It looks like that situation is bad with the domestic abuse stuff. And so I mean, obviously you do not have McCutchen, and you're starting to lose a lot of pieces.
Right.
And it reminds you of like where the Eagles have found themselves in the past couple of years, where you lose one guy, and you're like, all right, well, next man up. There's another guy, next man up. Then you start to like sit back and you're like, all right, let's be realistic. This doesn't work. Like all last season, at one point the Eagles had like an entirely new secondary than when they started the season with.
Right.
And just by chance, it actually ended up working out for them by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. But that was an outlier. That's not how it normally works out. You can lose one guy, 2 or 3, maybe. Eventually, it's going to kick you in the ass. And in baseball, it's 162 games. It's just how it works. You cannot replace all these guys. So I don't know what they literally have to replace these guys through. I mean, free agency is still an option, or trades. But I mean, obviously there's the 2 big free agents that are still there. That only helps you on the pitching side.
Who are they?
So you're looking at Keuchel, Dallas Keuchel. You love pronouncing Keuchel,
Dallas
by the way.
Keuchel, yep, I remember that name.
Our famous interview with T-Mac,
yeah.
where I said, it's one of those things. I mean, you're like the consummate pro. You're great at this. But it is one of those things when you don't have something right, it doesn't matter how many times.
Yep, I said that word.
Screw it up.
I said Keuchel a million times before.
And I was like, Keuchel like Michael. That when it came time, the red light was on. You're like, so Dallas Keuchel.
Yep.
I was like, oh shit.
Just like on Might Be Tunes, we had Mike Nappy and Tamaro on, and I said Tamaro a trillion times before the show, and I kept calling him Tomorrow.
Oh, really?
I kept calling him Tomorrow on the show, and I was like, God fucking, every time I said it out loud, I was like,
so
shit.
Fucked up.
Oh, dude, I was mad. I was really mad.
I graduated with a kid named Tom Morrow.
Oh, yeah?
That's one of those things, like, it's not a coincidence. But I mean, if I'm a parent, my last name's Morrow. Am I going to pass up that opportunity? I probably wouldn't. I would name my kid Tom. You got to do it. It's one of those things you have to do.
We real quick.
Oh wait, Craig Kimbrell's the other guy.
Oh, the other guy.
So the 2 guys were,
and both are pitchers.
Craig Kimbrell's the closer. Dallas Keuchel the starter. Issues the same with both guys. Dominant. The one won a Cy Young. The other is one of the greatest closers of all time. They're getting older and their velocity's down. Concerns about both. They both want to get paid big time. So we'll see now that the draft is over. There was always a draft pick compensation thing attached to them being signed. Now that the draft is gone, no more draft pick compensation. So the expectation is they're going to be signed. It's just a matter of when. Right. So maybe that could be one of the things where the Phillies say, hey, we're losing offense. The best guys out there right now are on the pitching side. Let's get stacked on that and try to make up the difference on defense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see.
I have one more baseball thing to talk about. This past week, a young girl was hit by a foul ball. We've talked about this with the Nets. And
I have a controversial opinion on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you said that you're not in favor of extending the nets.
Nope.
Simply, right? I don't know if I am or not. But one thing we've talked about it. Any sports person you've ever listened to probably talks about it. How baseball is kind of a ceremonial, old school pastime. Don't change. Da da da. the thing about that is, and with this particular situation, is that the people that are going to the games are changing. And there's no way, whether or not people go to these games and they look at their phones the whole time. You see it whenever the camera goes away from the game and goes to the crowd, whether, you see it on the Jumbotron at the Sixers games, you see it wherever there's people just sitting there looking at their phones. And if a foul ball gets smacked, line drive, somebody's looking at their phone, obviously that's their fault. That's an irresponsible thing. But Major League Baseball's got to protect people from themselves, right? I mean, where does the line get drawn? Is that, times change, people change, baseball stays the same for the most part, aside from like small changes that they make. But as far as like the people, like I said, that go to the games, they've changed. They're not sitting there. When I was a kid going to baseball games, I was focused at all times on the game, every pitch, because part of it was the love of the game, and the second part of it was the fear of getting smashed in the face with a line drive foul ball or whatever. If you're out in the outfield, who cares? Because you have that extra time to react and find the ball in the sky, whatever, before it gets to you. Or this family was sitting there on the third baseline somewhere, like right beyond third base, and zero time to react. I saw like the highlight of it, the video of it. It was instantaneous. Like before he was even done swinging the bat, that ball hit that girl. And I don't know what to do about that. I don't know what they should do about that.
I mean, my thing has always been where you have to look at like the odds of those things happening. A lot of people like to say like it's a great soundbite. They get to pat themselves on the back and make themselves feel like a good person by posting on Twitter, hey, if one person gets hurt by a foul ball, it's too many. Well, really? If it's just one person, I'm okay with that. And like, when's the last time you've heard of somebody dying from a foul ball? It happened.
I was going to point out the lady that won from the Dodgers game.
And I can think of one over the last 100 years. And as shitty as it sounds, that's an acceptable risk. That's like how many people die in car crashes every day, every year.
I thought about this.
I mean, you're just...
What is an acceptable risk? Right now, the way the game is, it's an acceptable risk. And it sounds heartless to say, but then what stops them? My point has always been from putting a net around the entire field. Now, everyone says the counterpoint to that is in the outfield, you have enough time. Define enough time.
Right.
What's enough time when someone in the outfield then gets hit by a very hard hit home run ball and they get hurt? Now it's, we need to extend it the entire way around. Once you put nets further and further around, the fact is, and it's a fact, it takes away from the enjoyment of the game. When less and less people are going to the game, which is hurting the game, you could draw a direct line to the nets taking away from the enjoyment of the game and the possibility of it taking the game away entirely. It's one of the factors that may be the end of the game.
Why
itself?
So Reeve, just to correct you a little bit, that woman that died at the Dodgers game, she was the first one to die in 50 years.
Right. So I said 100. I was pretty close.
Pretty close. Now, and I agree with you.
And that's an unbelievably awesome
I do agree
number
with you there. But now, I think that both of you have seen things like this. There's, these little viral videos, montages of people reaching over and catching a ball right before it hits somebody in the face, or all these close call videos. You know what I'm talking about? You've seen these things. Yep. Those were literally split seconds away from being more statistics based in this, right?
Yeah, the only amazing one is the guy that caught the bat.
Yes, that was crazy. That was really crazy. You know what he's talking about? The videos, somebody, what did he let go of the bat and it went flying?
Yeah, it went flying in the stands and almost hit some guy.
I may have seen it at some point.
And it was ridiculously close to just impaling somebody. Now, I do disagree that they would eventually put nets around the entire thing. I don't think that they would ever go that extreme. I really don't.
But
Because baseball is so slow to evolve. I really don't see them
But
ever
even if you
doing
put
that.
it down the entire line, if that's your intention to go down the entire line, you're kind of getting rid of like the foul ball aspect of it. And it's one of those things where it's like, what is an acceptable risk? Because right now, we're trying to determine what's the acceptable risk.
What if they did something like hockey where they put up plexiglass? What if they did something like that to where it was a barrier that the ball could get over? Do you know what I'm saying? Where the ball could get over it and then people could still catch their foul balls. It's clear. It's not a net. But what if they had
it would stop the
it would stop the line drives, because that's the most velocity, right? You can, if it's a pop foul, cool, no problem.
But I've also seen videos of the ball going through the net at high velocity.
I've seen that too. So I don't think the net is the answer, because I do agree with you that, I mean, part of the allure of going to a baseball game is the
danger.
Well, danger, but also the chance to catch part of the game.
Yeah.
You take part of that game home with you if you catch that.
We're talking about what the acceptable risk is, because we're obviously saying that the unacceptable risk we're arguing for is the line drive, which is dangerous. The acceptable risk we're saying is the pop fly over the net.
Right.
So for some reason we're making that.
But there's time.
I mean, we're using no statistical information to say that a pop fly is worse than a line drive, other than common sense in our heads. But if we go by statistics, with the one person being killed in decades, the statistics would say there's no real difference at all. The common sense says, yeah, the line drive, it's hard. The pop fly doesn't make a difference. But statistically, there's no difference between the two. So the line drive actually isn't all that dangerous either. We just
no. We went by death.
Isolated incidents make us think that it's more of a problem than it actually is.
There's difference between injury and death. We went by death.
Right. I
so
mean,
injury, I'm sure.
I don't know what happened to this girl, and that's my fault. I should probably look that up. But what if you get hit square in the face with a baseball that's going 100 miles per hour plus? And it's a thing that you weren't expecting. You could have serious damage from that.
One, I saw Zoolander, so you just make
you could have serious damage from that. And I understand, and I'm not arguing that something needs to happen. Like, I'm not going that far. I'm just kind of trying to play devil's advocate to your point. I just don't. I think that there's obviously a risk there, and it's part of the allure of baseball. But you also have to understand, I guess, that not everybody looks at it that way. Like I said, the caliber of fan going to these games has changed. I saw a picture of.
But shouldn't they be held?
They absolutely should be held accountable.
Because we
absolutely should.
We say all the time, NFL players know the risks, and especially now more than ever. And we hold them accountable and say, they know the risks. They choose to play the sport. Maybe that wasn't always the case. For sure, that wasn't always the case. They did not know all the risks. Now it's out there. They continue to play. We hold them to a higher standard than the fan. But why? Because the fan is taking a much lesser risk, and they know. I mean, you go to a game, they play that video that says, "Hey, pay attention. A foul ball is coming your way." Going into that what could happen.
Right.
Here you go.
But the risk is so low that everybody accepts it.
But that risk could be still cut in half with something.
So even though the number has gone down every year since the creation of baseball, last year's number, 1,750 people were hurt by foul balls last year.
How many? 1,000 and how many?
750 people.
Where did you get this from?
It is from... It's actually WebMD.
Huh.
Is put in their news article.
Over 1,000 people injured by a baseball last year?
Yeah, but then they said the number keeps going down, but last year's number was 1,750.
Wow.
Which, by the way, getting hurt by a foul ball at a baseball game, you hit the jackpot. That's just a fact. And nobody wants to talk about it. It's not popular to say you get hurt by a foul ball at a baseball game. As long as you're not hurt long-term, it's not a long-term disability situation, the team's going to take care of you.
Yeah.
You're in good shape. You're getting a team-signed baseball. You're getting to meet Bryce Harper.
Yeah. The guy
dugout.
who hit this baseball, I mean, was very emotionally shaken up. But he said after the game that he's going to connect with the family. He's going to keep in touch over the years and like form kind of a bond with them. So like, I understand that it's not at all bad, but
right. And this kid could be permanently damaged. It could be a horrible situation. My point is, we live with drastic risks in everyday life all the time.
do you think that
If we always said, for every situation, we said, if there's one, that's one too many, we would never leave the house. We would never get in a car. We would never get on a bus, on a train,
I
on
buy
a plane.
that. I buy that. Do you think that a plexiglass barrier would affect the game like a net would?
I think that would be worse.
Yeah, I think it's worse. 'Cause
Those
it's
balls
more-
would go right through that thing.
You think so?
No, I don't
Oh,
think.
yeah.
No, I think they could build something that would be fine for that, but that's the wrong move. The net is much better. The
What do you think?
plexiglass
Do they
thing
move?
works
Do they move the
indoors.
seats back?
Outside, you have to put the net, but the net still, it creates this weird barrier where it changes the dynamic of the game, and whether you know it or not, it makes you the most expensive seats now in the stadium. You devalue, and that's how they make their bones. They want to sell those seats,
Right.
and now you make them less valuable. So it's a problem.
It's
And
a
now
problem.
those guys can't get foul balls. Like, how often do you see like guys reach over down the line and try to grab those balls? Coming down. It's
not crazy often. Not for real.
I mean, it's part of the game.
It's part of the game. I get it.
And when you sit that close, you're thinking, I'm going to get a foul
So what
ball.
do stadiums do? Do they tell you that you can't bring your phone in?
I mean, well, no. I mean, I think it comes down to personal responsibility, but also, again, I don't think anything has to be done at all. This is not. There's no uptick. There's no. Everything's still fine, but when there's one, it's going to be made to be a big story. So we talk about this with the NFL. What did Roger Goodell do when there was one non-pass interference call? They changed the rules to the NFL, and now they're scrambling because they can't figure out how to get this replay pass interference rule right. Now they're saying no Hail Marys, and now you're wondering, well, what constitutes a Hail Mary?
Yeah.
Because we were saying, how do you have a replay on a pass interference call if it's a Hail Mary when pass interference is going on both ways? It's just going to be an endless run of Hail Marys over and over again.
So as of
They screwed it up
yesterday-
because of one incident. You cannot get crazy because of one incident, is all I'm saying.
So as of yesterday, CNN said the little girl's condition is still not available.
Yeah, and it could be serious. My point is, not that I don't care about the condition of the girl. Obviously, I do. My point is, statistically, whether she is okay or not, it sounds heartless to say. It doesn't matter in the grand statistical scheme
Of baseball.
Like, if you're going to make a decision on the entire game based on whether she is okay or not, that's weird. Like, if she turns out to be okay, fine, we'll do nothing. If she's not okay, if she has long-lasting problems the rest of her life, we're going to change it all. We're going to put, nets up and down. It's so reactive in a way that doesn't make sense when it's one case.
Do you think that that Major League Baseball should leave it up to the owners, the people who own the stadiums?
No, because then you're going to get into a situation where, one team is going to do something rogue to try to seem like they're, at the forefront.
My thing with this is here, and we're gonna end it here because I want to cover a little bit of the NBA Finals, and I actually do want to take a break because we have a cool new commercial to play. But if I was the owner of a baseball stadium, say I own Citizens Bank Park, I have thousands and thousands of people coming to a place that I own every day. I don't know what I would do with the fact that it is kind of my responsibility to protect the people that are quote unquote in my area, my house, so to speak. And it's just, I wonder how they feel about it, because I know how I've been listening to the sports talk radio a lot right after that happened. And you are definitely not alone in feeling this way about the Nets. I mean, pretty much everybody that called the local channels here in Philly are basically in 100% agreement with what you're saying. And I'm pretty much there too. It's a weird gray area for me, just because like I feel like there's some sort of a moral obligation to protect the people that are paying to be there. I mean, I understand that they are because they're security guards, yada, 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 whatever. And that's exactly where she went. She got scooped up. This little girl got scooped right up by security, escorted out of there immediately. Mm-hmm. The response was swift, and I commend everybody that was a part of that. But I don't know the answer to this question. I don't. But I think that something is going to come of it in the next couple of years, because there's a conversation about it. And I think that I think the conversation is good. I think that there should be a conversation about it, even if nothing happens. Because I agree with you that a net would make things different. And it would feel different.
I'll just say this to put a cap on my point. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes like we're limited with like the amount of like things we can think of, or people. Our brains can't contemplate millions of people. And when you're dealing with a business that deals with millions of people, like a baseball team would, you have to factor in things like risk, and one person getting hurt or 10 or 100 is an acceptable risk. Like the one thing I always thought was weird,
or 1,750,
right? But here's why that makes sense. So the one thing that I always thought was weird was if you go to a game, and this is not like the statistics on this are going to be not anywhere close to what I'm saying, but if you just go by the amount of people at a game, let's say a Phillies game, 40,000 people, it's a sellout. If you go to that game, and how many days in a year? 365 days. So if your birthday, like mine, is June 12th, statistically speaking, 109 people at that game will have the same birthday as me.
Wow.
You just do that. And you wouldn't, like 109 of 40,000 people, if you just say one out of every 365, just if you say every birth is random, think about that.
Yeah.
And if you think 109 people having the same birthday in the same place, that makes you think of how your mind can't comprehend how many people 40,000 people is.
Right.
Times 81 games. Like, this is a lot of people. So when you think of it that way, sometimes people are going to get hurt. Like, this is how insurance companies work. If you start a car company tomorrow, like Tesla, you have to accept the risk. Hey, someone's going to die because I decided to build a car. Because if it's successful, people will buy this car. People will die in that car.
Right. Unless it's a Volvo.
Why? Are they like exceptionally safe?
Well, they have a claim that, so for the last 5 years, no one's died in a Volvo. And they said by 2020, no one will be seriously injured in a crash if they're in a Volvo.
Because they have very good nets in those Volvos. I've seen it. Their net system is extravagant. But no, so my point is just when you're dealing with big numbers, and I know it makes me sound heartless. I care about these people, but it's like we're dealing with millions of people here.
So every 1.4 games, someone is hurt at a baseball game.
It's.
I mean, I've been heartbroken at many games. If you're telling me my emotional abuse is not on par with physical abuse, then, I mean, who's the heartless one then?
It's an interesting debate.
What can I say?
It's an interesting debate. It's an interesting conversation, and like I said,
it was one of our best.
I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. I agree. I agree, because like I said, I'm on the fence. I'm on the net, so to speak. I'm on the net.
Very nice.
All right, let me take a quick break because we got a cool commercial. Here it is.
So you've been listening to the Might Be News Network, but you still can't get enough each week? Become our patron on Patreon. Head to patreon.com/MBN Network to become a patron and get exclusive content now. For as little as $5 per month, you'll get access to extended episodes of all your favorite shows, as well as perks including MBN merch and monthly giveaways. Just want to support the network? Become a patron for as much or as little as you'd like. Patreon.com/MBN Network. 2 hours of bonus content each week guaranteed. Your contributions will help make the Might Be News Network bigger and better than ever before. Patreon.com/MBN Network.
Welcome back to Might Be Sports. That was our cool commercial for our Patreon page. Shout out to Sam from Foundation Radio for putting that together for us. This is Patreon Preview Week on the Might Be News Network. Head over to patreon.com/MBN Network for more details. Plans start at $5. It's easy. You get tons of bonus content every week. For example, this week we've had 90-minute episodes of Might Be News, Relatable Radio. We're going to have a 90-minute episode of Novak and Franz tomorrow. We're going to have a 90-minute, well, it's close to 90 minutes, Game of Thrones spectacular episode. That would typically be a Patreon exclusive podcast as well. We're going to have that we're going to put that out on Friday. I'm really looking forward to that. We had a great conversation about Game of Thrones, and we're looking forward to doing more Patreon exclusive shows like that. We're talking about doing kind of a Marvel movie recap. We're talking about doing some fantasy football stuff when the time is right. We've got a lot of things coming up here in the short term and long term for the Might Be News Network. So stay tuned. Go to patreon.com/MBN Network, or just go to mbnnetwork.com, and there's a link there. Thanks to CJ. Thanks, CJ.
You're welcome.
So,
And you can go to google.com and in a little space, you put in like MBN Network and it goes right to our shit.
it does. Does it? I haven't Googled us in a while. It does. I think.
We're a partner with Google now because you could search for us and Google will find us. That makes us a partner with Google.
Tell me about the horse races this weekend.
Which, by the way, Google is kind of a big deal.
It is.
Anyway.
It's the biggest deal.
It's no Yahoo. But.
Anyway.
I still get Hotmail.
I'm off the rails today. I'm gonna crack a beer for this one. That sounds amazing.
The microphone just makes it so much better.
I love it.
It does.
So all right.
Shout out to Might Be Brews. They'd be proud of you for that.
Thank you.
They're actually going to take the sound bite and just use it.
Yeah. Might Be Brews, great show, by the way.
It's a lot of fun,
If
right?
you're not listening to Might Be Brews, listen to Might Be Brews. It's fun, entertaining. I think that show's got legs, man. I like it. I like to listen or watch What's Brewing on Comcast. It's a local show done by some local guys here. Gives like a local flavor of beer and all that kind of stuff. Great show. And I think Might Be Brews could give that show a run for its money. One's a podcast, one's a TV show, but
they pull it off for a podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, beer is something you kind of like to see and stuff like that, but they pull it off. People seem to really like it. So I'm glad you guys made it on for their last episode. It was great.
yeah, that was cool. But so we're talking the Belmonts this weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of pretty much two things primarily. I'm known for being a big William Murray fan. I wear a lot of William Murray stuff. I'm wearing 3 articles of William Murray clothing right now. I'm their biggest fan. WilliamMurrayGolf.com. Check it out. Not a sponsor. Besides, I guess a sponsor of my life voluntarily. But also Adam Carolla. Big Adam Carolla fan. He's got a thing where I don't know how long he's been doing it, but I always got a kick out of it whenever they talk horse racing. He's got this thing called if it's good for the wang, it's good for the stang. So he doesn't know anything about horse racing. I've gone to a bunch of horse races. I pretend I know something about it. I really don't. I enjoy it. I used to watch the reality show, I think it's called Jockeys, and got like kind of a beginner's tutorial on like what those guys go through and all that. So I enjoy this sport as a whole. But for the most part, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who to pick. You look at the odds, and that's what you go off of. We all know. So like the favorite right now is War of Will. You look at the odds, they tell you that. That's the favorite to win the race. But nobody cares about the odds. You want to pick a horse based on the name. And, we were just talking about Might Be Brews. As much as I like to say, oh, I picked this beer because it's got choice hops.
Yeah.
No, I picked it because of the name.
Right. And the label.
My joke all the time is I say, oh, it's got notes of plywood. Yeah, I mean, it's just,
It's a 4.5.
There are for sure beers that I enjoy more than others, but how can I tell when I'm at the beer store? I just go based on name.
Right.
So what's good for the Wang is good for the Stang is you find the horse that sounds like the best nickname for your penis. And that's the horse that's going to win the race. So I sent you guys the horses. And so just go down the list and tell me what horse. And there's one that I think is a leader in the clubhouse. So I'll just list them off now. We got Tacitus, War of Will, Everfast. Everfast goes in the other direction, so we can already cross him off. Everfast, Spinoff, Intrepid Heart, Master Fencer, Sir Winston, Tax, and I suppose it's pronounced Jovia. So Jovia actually sounds like a drug to that would help you in the bedroom. You know, Jovia?
Yeah.
That could be one of those, like...
Some sort of pill.
I don't know. I would go Master Fencer with that category.
Yeah, Master Fencer is the leader in the clubhouse, but I think there's a sneaky one in there.
I'm going Sir Watson.
Sir Winston.
Or Sir Winston.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, that's
Sir Winston just sounds like, I don't know, it's got like a little bit of a...
War of Will.
But I mean, to go off, it doesn't even go with Adam Carolla's philosophy, but tax, you can always count on taxes.
Death and taxes.
Yes.
That's pretty good. There are three things certain in this world. Death, taxes, and money. Now, I don't know how we got here. This is horrible. If my mom's listening to this, I'm very, very sorry. But, yeah, War of Will is strong. Everfast is awful. Spinoff doesn't work. Intrepid Heart, if you're a romantic, that could work.
Spinoff could kind of work.
Spinoff.
I've heard the term before.
If it's a menage a trois scenario, that could work. Maybe. Spinoff into something
Everfast
else.
could work for somebody.
Sir
you won't
Winston
admit to
has-
that one. Do you really want to call? Yeah, my dick's Everfast.
Everfast.
Sir Winston has a dignified.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
it shows respect to your Wang.
I don't know. I really don't want to get a monocle tattooed on it.
it's a pretty good idea.
It is a pretty good idea.
If you're not going to be long and strong, you might as well be dignified.
Here, to go off topic a little bit, kind of, not really. Mohawk and I, a friend of ours wanted to get a dick tattoo. And, screw else. Timmy White wanted to get a dick tattoo.
A tattoo on your dick?
So wait, it's my joke. You get a dick tattoo of your dick, but only bigger?
Well, no, it was like, he wanted a tattoo either on his dick or incorporating his dick.
Okay.
So he ended up getting a monkey tattooed around it, and where the monkey's dick would be was his dick, and the monkey had Spank tattooed on his stomach, so it was Spank the monkey.
Wow.
But we were coming up with the other ideas. So Mohawk's was a banana, I believe. So it would partway up the dick, the banana peel would open up.
This is wild.
And then my idea was Gonzo, because remember when Gonzo would get mad and his nose would go straight?
Yes.
Boom. So it would be...
This is a great opportunity for us to say, when we throw this out there, you know, you might want to only listen to the first half of the show. Or if you have kids in the room.
Yeah, right. Jeez.
At first, we're talking about, like, let's save lives with nets. Like, we're going to...
Yeah, we've gone down the road. We're talking about dick tattoos.
One net will save
This is a slow sports week.
20 lives this year. Your donation today could buy 2 nets.
Actually,
your
the
baseball team.
NHL finals is tied up 2-2, and the NBA finals is tied up 1-1. I wanted to talk about the NBA finals real
I
quick.
know you wanted to,
Yeah.
but you better pick a goddamn horse right
I did.
now.
I said Sir Winston.
All right, what are you going with, CJ?
I'm going with tax just off the topic of the dick names, just because you can always count on the taxes.
I'm going Sir Winston.
I like it. I think a sneaky one would be Jovia, just because it totally sounds like a dick drug. But Master Fencer's just 2 on the nose. I got to go with Sir Winston.
Yep.
All right, moving on.
NBA Finals, do you think with Klay Thompson, if Klay Thompson is out, they haven't ruled him out, he's questionable, but however, he did say that if there's pain, he will not play. KD is ruled out for Wednesday night's game. If both of them are out, is Toronto a shoo-in to win Game 3?
Well, yeah, but I would say yes. But, because we're talking about, gambling and all that right now, it is interesting to throw it out there. I was reading a Forbes article today that said, I guess currently the Warriors are -6 favorites for the next game.
Yes, they are.
So when you have the information, all we have right now is the information we have. And, we have a lot less than the people in the know have.
Yeah.
But the people that are putting money down on this stuff, they have as much information as can possibly be gained. So if the number's -6, that tells you everything you can possibly know and probably everything you need to know. So Klay Thompson is probably playing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is that game tomorrow? Or would
Yes.
it be
for us
tonight?
right now? It's
Tonight.
Yep.
So you always go with where the line is
Right.
because that's where the money is and money talks. And -6, big number.
Yeah.
So I do think Klay's going to play. Durant. I counted Durant out for the whole series,
I think he's going to be back Game 4. I do.
and I do wonder if there's. Because I've always had this thought. Why did so many Olympic teams over the years? This was over a decade ago. They performed so poorly. The U.S. teams in the Olympics,
Right.
because you're putting a bunch of superstars together, and hey, they're the best players in the world. They'll figure it out. And then teams from like Australia or whatever, like teams at Germany, like with 1 or 2, bench guys from the NBA, killing them and outperforming these quote unquote dream teams. Why? Because they know how to play together. They have this system in place that works for them. You bring Kevin Durant. So right now, you take Kevin Durant out of the whole thing. The Warriors did fine when they didn't have him. They won 2 titles. Totally without him, their core is in place minus him. You take him away, yeah, they got a track record to be just fine.
Yeah.
You bring him back in, now all of a sudden, that base, you have to totally change the way they play because Kevin Durant is, I guess, their best player. And when he's there,
He was their best player throughout the
everything
playoffs.
they have to change the way they play entirely.
Yeah.
Is that a switch you can flick on and off? I don't know.
I don't know.
Now, maybe they are that good where they have 2 ways to play. When Kevin Durant plays and when he doesn't. And when he's out, they can flip that switch. When he's in, they can flip that switch. They can be just as good either way. Right now, I think it's been too long. It's best if he stays away. If Klay Thompson's out, totally different story. It becomes one of those things we talked about before. You lose enough guys, you cannot make up the difference. So we'll see how that plays out. But again, the Vegas number tells you one of those guys is going to be back.
Yeah. And they already ruled KD out, so it's got to be Klay.
Mm-hmm.
CJ, you ready for some rapid fire?
Yes.
I'm so. That was money well spent. I don't know if the listeners know right now. We spent, was it $2,000 on those sound effects?
Yeah, it was about $2,000 for that.
Money well spent.
The game. I'm still banned in Canada. Can't attend NBA Finals in Toronto.
The game, the rapper of the game?
Yes.
Why is he banned from Canada? Does it say? Probably, it's got to be legal stuff.
He has gang affiliation.
Okay. Well, it sucks for the game. See you in the Bay Area.
Shaq praises Drake's NBA final antics. He knows what he's doing.
Of course he does. Yes, he does. I agree with that 100%. It also makes him a douche.
Wait, say this again. I was trying to make a joke on don't hate the player, hate the game. It didn't work out. Say this again. Go. Now I'm paying attention.
Well, now I have to go to TMZ and pull
see,
up.
I ruined everything.
Since
I
I
ruined
delete
everything.
them as I go through them just to make sure because I jump around.
Okay. Well, you can just go to the next one. I don't care.
I'll go to the next one.
Hold on.
Yeah.
He said that Shaq commended Drake
Yeah.
for his antics on the court because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And I say I agree with that. He knows
Do we
exactly what
watch
he's doing.
basketball to see how the fans can affect the game, though?
People are watching it right now for Drake's reactions. It's gone viral at this point. It's all over the place. Game 1, it was him telling Draymond after the green that he was trash with his petty, stupid smile. And game 2, it was Steph Curry running past him after he drained a 3 and I think capped off a 20-0 run for Golden State. And you just see Drake on the side just looking depressed and just mad. And the camera always finds him. It's so annoying. Is it a
game or a reality show? That's my only point.
Basically both at this point.
Yeah, we can move on. Next.
George Foreman offers to manage Anthony Joshua. Needs someone like me.
You need somebody like somebody because he looked like shit in that fight.
This is a Holly Holm thing where the dude won one fight. And you know what? I did just real quick. This isn't going to be a long rant, but not to get on, the Adam Carolla train again or whatever. But, listening to Adam Carolla, he's a boxing guy, made a great point. This is the first ever, I believe, Mexican heavyweight championship guy.
Ever.
And you wonder, because those guys are great fighters.
Right.
But not normally in the heavyweight division. And you wonder, their style of fighting has always been a quickness thing that, lends itself to like a lower weight class. You got to wonder if he's a heavy, out of shape dude, but he's probably been raised with the quickness style. And you're not seeing that in the heavyweight division right now.
Correct.
A lot of these guys that are dominant, chiseled out of, granite, they might not have the kind of actual fighting skills that this guy, totally out of shape, has instinctually. So
I think he looks totally out of shape, but I don't. Clearly, he's in shape. He lasted what? How many rounds? It was 7, or was it 12? It was 12 rounds.
12.
It was 12 rounds.
Right.
Yeah.
But all that being said, we talk ourselves into these things all the time. Like Holly Holm won that big fight, and she got beat the next time out. This is going to be the same exact thing. There's going to be somebody better because the fact remains, you cannot look like that and be good long term.
Butterbean.
I knew you were going to say Butterbean.
I don't know, man. I disagree.
Me and CJ talked a lot of Butterbean yesterday with boxing, looking up old Butterbean videos. The dude could punch. He had unbelievable quickness.
No, he could take a punch, I think was the secret of Butterbean's skill.
We're talking about that big time. He had a suit of armor that was his body, his fat. But actually, it's not even that. If you look at him early in his career, it wasn't even his fat. He was just built gigantic, built wide and huge. And it wasn't like he was jiggling around like a bowl full of jelly. He was pretty, for a fat guy, he was pretty rock solid.
Right.
And he could take a punch and deliver it.
Yeah.
But he never really got a shot against anybody that mattered because his name was Butterbean.
Well, it seems like Andy Ruiz Jr. Is in the same, not category, but he was taking
jiggles
some
a little
punch.
bit.
He was taking some punches, man. He was taking
He's like a C
he was
cup
taking a
at
beating.
least.
I agree, but that doesn't mean he's
So-
any less of a champion currently. He's a
That's
champ.
correct.
He's a champ.
He got
Better
that.
put some respect on it. We got to put some respect on
He
it.
got that chip and he ate it too.
Next.
Quali Leonard sewing Nike over claw logo. I drew it myself.
So what? They took the claw logo and put it on their apparel? Is that what they did?
Yes.
And he signed to somebody else. Is he on Adidas?
I don't know. who
Or is he on
signed
Nike?
to.
Yeah, I guess if he created that thing, that's his image. That's what he owns that shit. Back off, Nike.
Lawyers know what they're doing. He wouldn't be saying something unless his guys were like, we can get something from this.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see Kawhi just being like, nope.
Oscar De La Hoya. Andy Ruiz will have long run as champ. He's the man.
That's how you know he will not have a long run as champ. Bet against him big time next. This was all the same stuff like with Holly Holm. Whoever wins, who wasn't supposed to win, all of a sudden they're the next big thing. Bullshit. And everything great I said about him, his style, his quickness, all this, the end of the day, he's a big fat guy who has the championship belt for no goddamn reason. Vegas tells you everything. He wasn't supposed to win. He won't win next time.
Pro cyclist slaps the hell out of a fan, tripped him during the race.
Yeah,
I didn't see this.
There's a lot of that going on. The fans get so damn close, and there's this fan of this guy, and he's running along. I didn't see the video, but he's running along with the cyclist, and he accidentally gets bumped and falls into the cyclist, and he loses like 14 places, and he's obviously pissed, and he like slaps the fan or something, like a cyclist would do. You know,
We'll say he bear clawed him.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It
because a
was like
cyclist,
that?
of course, it's a slap.
Yeah.
It's like that, and like I don't know, like a French tennis player, I would think would also slap. Like there's just certain like I don't know, athletes that you just immediately think slap over punch.
Katie clown Drake after finals win. Bum ass.
Yeah, I heard that. He said, Aubrey, see you in the Bay Area. I think KD's coming back game 4.
Multiple NBA teams moving away from the term owners.
And the NBA is very progressive. You talked about it before the show, Reeve, and we've talked about it before on this show about the NBA is basically a player-run league, and this is clearly has to do with the opinions and feelings of quite a few players. Draymond Green, I believe, is the most recent one to speak out against the term owner or use it in kind of a derogatory sense. This is something that me as a straight up white person feels like I need to have some sort of compassion for the feelings of others and at least hear it out. I think that no matter what, the term's never going to go away because they technically own the team. But in a league that is predominantly run by African American talent, I can see where the issue comes up.
Yeah, I think it's ironic that, you were just saying a league primarily seems to be run more than any other professional sports league run by the players. It's ironic that they're saying we need to get rid of this term because it insinuates they own us. But you, for all intents and purposes, the stars of the league own the owners. They make the decision. I mean,
Yeah.
LeBron James, with 2 decisions in his career specifically, ruined the Cleveland franchise. You could say arguably twice, and totally shunned Miami. They're screwed right now. They're in a horrible situation.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to get out of. Cleveland, same deal. So these guys, wherever they decide to go, their team succeeds or fails. So it's very interesting. Like, it's just weird. Not even getting into the term owner or whatever. It's just you're creating these scenarios that don't exist.
I think that I agree with everything that you're saying.
Like, it would never be a problem if no one brought it up, because the reality of the situation is, of course, they don't own you.
Right.
You guys own the owners.
But we talk about players that run the league and all that stuff. At the end of the day, though, that's only a handful of players, right? I mean, compared to the full rosters of the NBA, as a league, we're talking about, what, 10, 20 players in the league that have that kind of pull when they go to a new team or when they get drafted to a team. You look at players like, I don't know, J.R. Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Or even like Andre Iguodala. They don't have that kind of power, and I think that the NBA is like I said, very progressive, but I also think that they listen to the voices that are the loudest. And like I said, that's probably only 20 people in the league that can get their voices heard on that level to actually make an impact of some magnitude.
Right. I would just say that I think if you asked the majority of people in their personal lives if they thought their job owned them, I think they would say yes. I think my job owns me. I'm terrified at the prospect of losing my job. I enjoy my job. If they fired me tomorrow, I would feel I don't know what I would do. I would land on my feet. I'd be fine, but I love what I do. I'd be lost without my job. So in that sense, for sure, my job owns me. So I think a lot of people I think would feel the same exact way. If you feel very comfortable and secure in your job in one way or another owns you. I think it's just the way of the world. They're the ones that provide the money to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing coming from a league, where, and I hate getting into that argument where guys make millions of dollars, blah, blah, blah. They totally earn the money, throw that out the window, it's fine. These guys, at the end of the day, are free to go wherever the hell they want. It's just weird when we get into a tricky battle of words. It does a disservice ultimately, because when does it end? We just keep challenging words, and there's nothing left at the end of the day.
I think that one turning point in this, and then we're going to go to the week, unless you have any more, Craig. Are you good?
I have a couple more, and there's probably two I want to definitely do.
Okay, well,
right.
I'll just say this. I'll just say
I
this
said
real
my
quick.
last word.
I'll just say this
Yes.
real quick. I think that a turning point in this situation, in particular, was the shut up and dribble. I think that like, you know what I mean? I think that gave players a sense of, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not just an athlete. I'm more than an athlete. That's also the other thing that was the response to the shut up and dribble. More than an athlete. I think that was kind of a turning point for some of this. Next, CJ.
All right, so here's a quick one, since it's a question you just have to guess the answer to. Pete Rose, I'm not the best player missing from the Hall of Fame. Here's who is. Who'd he say?
Oh, that's a great one. I'm going to let Taylor answer first, because his answer is going to be really dumb and not as educated as mine.
For real. Is Don Mattingly in the Hall of Fame?
That's actually a really good answer.
Is he in? I don't even know.
I'm not
if
going
he
to
is.
have as good an answer as you.
Yes.
Ah, shit. He's not, but there's actually been a strong push lately to get him in. Ah, shoot. All right, off the top of my head, it can't go back to, it's a possibility he might have mentioned Joe Jackson, because it's like in this same scenario as him, shoeless Joe Jackson. The only, if I can think off the top of my head, who else would be deserving to be in the Hall of Fame right now? Fred McGriff.
That's your final answer?
I'm going to go with Fred McGriff.
That's a good answer.
Joe Jackson.
I had one or the other. All right, cool.
And then, so last
I
one.
thought it was a possibility.
Terrell Owens, Donovan McNabb in the Hall of Fame. Who?
First of all,
I love me some me. Isn't that T.O.? Isn't that what he said?
who is Terrell Owens? Never heard of him, because I know a Terrell Owens. That's his name, and he will speak his name correctly, because that guy is a god. I've loved Terrell Owens my whole career, my whole life.
Do you think Donovan McNabb's a Hall of Famer?
I used to say yes. You know what? I'll still say yes, because now the quarterback number is getting so skewed that we look back on his and say, oh, anybody could do that this year. Like his best year, anybody could do that now. But the NFL wasn't that way even 10 years ago. And, Donovan McNabb was the first player in NFL history, not Peyton Manning, not Tom Brady, not Joe Montana, to throw for over 30 touchdowns and less than 10 interceptions in the same year. Now, it started a trend. There were, I think, 2 guys did it the following year, and it's been done almost every year since he did it in 2004. But he was the first guy to do it. So you could even make the argument that he was one of the great quarterbacks of that time to kind of usher in this era of, passing the football and efficient passing of the football. He doesn't get enough credit for that because he didn't win the big game.
Right.
But
if he won the Super Bowl, I would say it would be an automatic yes for me.
If we make the MVP award, if that has no bearing on the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and that's the most valuable player, like what's the Hall of Fame? It's kind of the most valuable for your career.
By that rationale, would you agree that Peyton Manning, with the most MVP awards ever of all time, and no one's even close, that he's the best quarterback of all time ever?
Well, now I think what I just said was completely invalid. No, so I'm not making an argument that the postseason or playoffs doesn't matter. I'm saying we clearly place a huge value on the regular season.
Yeah.
And when the Hall of Fame comes up, why do we so quickly go to, well, how did they do when it mattered most? Quote unquote mattered most.
Yeah.
That's so insane because in that sense, is Nick Foles a better career quarterback than Donovan McNabb? That's insane.
Yeah, no,
Nick Foles had a good run.
Yeah.
And he's a great quarterback, and he might still have a Hall of Fame career, but you need to do it during the regular season. And he did that really, really well. He was a great quarterback.
Let's do go to the week and let's get out of here. Might Be Sports presents the greatest of all time. Of the week.
My go to the week is Andy Ruiz Jr., the current heavyweight champion of the world. I as a fat guy, feel like fat people all around the world took a W over the weekend. And Andy Ruiz Jr. showed that fat people are capable of just about anything. Well, as far as lasting 12 rounds in a boxing match with the previous heavyweight champion of the entire world, who, like you said, Reedy, it was chiseled out of granite. I mean, it was I didn't watch the fight, but I watched the recap of it the following morning. And both fighters fought their asses off. Yes, Andy Ruiz Jr. is heavy, but and flabby by some accounts, but he took a beating, but he dished out a bigger beating, and that's the point of the sport. And I know that they're already talking rematch, and I'd be interested to see how that pans out. But as far as his win goes, I feel like more people are clowning him than celebrating him, and I don't feel like that's fair. I think that if it was anyone else, if it was a skinnier person or a more muscular person, that they'd be getting the respect that a champion deserves.
Totally. Right.
And I think it's a real shame. So I think that Andy Ruiz Jr. earned that win. He earned those belts, and I think that he should be getting the respect that a champion deserves, because that's what he is. He's the world champion.
I just still have to say he's no Butterbean. Butterbean still holds the record, 17-second knockout.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a joke, but I would love to see Butterbean and this guy.
Oh, that'd be
both in
great.
prime.
Oh, that'd be great. It would be great.
I don't know. I think Butterbean could still give him a run.
I mean, listen,
at
George
this day and age.
George Foreman came back, and he was pretty flabby, and he was good.
What was he?
was still
70? He knocked out the 30-year-old or
Yeah, something.
20s,
Yeah, he was.
yeah.
Yep. So I mean, it's possible. Like I said, fat people got
Rocky
a win over the
Balboa.
weekend. They got a win over the weekend. Thank you, Andy Ruiz Jr. I'm fat too.
All right, yours is way better than mine. Mine's lame. I'm only doing this to prove that I'm a fair person and to pat myself on the back.
Oh,
And I'm saying my greatest of all time
of the week.
is a guy I'm not too fond of,
Oh,
Kawhi Leonard.
oh.
Yeah, it's just I've talked shit. If we were to go back and listen to a podcast from last year, I don't know if Kawhi Leonard was a big topic of conversation. He wasn't playing much for the Spurs. I might have made a comment saying that, this guy's not a team guy. He might be washed up. There's things we don't know. We still give him too much credit for being, one of the best players on the planet, but he won't even, take the floor.
I think we were both on that page at one point. Yeah.
And then even this year, doesn't play all the games during the regular season. He seems to save himself. And here we are. And he wins the first game of the NBA Finals with the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
And, talk about being a single... he's kind of changing the way the NBA is built. Just a couple of years ago, just maybe last year, you need a three-headed monster. You need three superstars to win. And I think the tide is changing right now because with Toronto, you need one guy, and you build around the one guy with the right pieces, and you can make it work with one guy. And man, I mean, if they win this, and they were damn close to being up 2-0, and I'm sorry to say that I'm actually rooting for Golden State because, my team's the 76ers, and as much as I would like to be fair, I get butthurt, heartbroken when a team beats my team. And I'm not too fond of the Raptors right now, but I respect the hell out of what Kawhi's doing. And holy shit, if he pulls this off, it's crazy.
It is. I agree. He's been a monster this whole playoff.
Amazing. And the Spurs are going to look real bad.
Yeah.
And the Sixers are going to look real bad because you wonder what they could have given up and what they gave up during this season for two guys that might leave.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy Butler and
Tobias Harris.
Yeah. So it makes you wonder the guys they gave up for those two players, Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris. Could they have been included in a deal for Kawhi Leonard?
Yeah.
Plus some picks and all that. And man, you put him on a team with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and that looks way better than what Toronto has right now. And
No
you
doubt.
think it would just skate to a championship. But I mean, who knows? It's revisionist history. But what he's doing with Toronto right now is like almost unprecedented.
Yeah.
In the last 20 years of the NBA.
I agree. Great show tonight, guys. This is fantastic. Real quick, I wanted to throw out a quick plug because I just made a order this week from our guest S. Preston.
Nice.
I got the Gritty and I got the Fanatic.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
that's great.
I got his Philly mascot collection. So head over to sprestondesigns.com. Check out all the stuff
he's got a cool new thing. He just got the Players Association thing with MLB. So he has player designs.
Oh, really?
With the stadiums. So right now, he sent me the Citizens Bank Park Bell thing. But right now, you can get one with the Harper name and the number. So it's like the back of the jersey.
Nice.
So that takes up like the empty space above.
Very cool. Very cool.
Those are awesome. He's going to keep adding players to that. They're severely limited. It's one of those things where there's like 60 of them, maybe less. And if you get it signed by the player, it's like, this is a one-of-a-kind thing.
Right.
You're going to be one of like maybe 5 guys that, buys these, that gets it signed by the player.
I'm super pumped. I'm going to get him. I'm going to be getting him in the mail soon.
That's like one of the things where like, I'm not a collector, but I want to get the Harper one and get it signed. And how many people in the world will have that?
No one. Just you.
And I'll never sell the damn thing, but I'll just look at it on the wall and be like, just me.
Yeah, I'm pumped to get my Gritty and Fanatic.
They look really cool.
Yeah, they look really cool. I'm really pleased about it. And yeah, I was texting him a little bit, let him know I placed the order, and he was hype about that. So go over to sprestondesigns.com. Reevy, great job tonight.
You as well, man.
CJ, fantastic.
Thank you.
Check out an all new Novak and Franz tomorrow. Go Golden State tonight, and we'll see you guys next time.